inbox and everything. Yo, I ain't heard Rev in a while. I can't wait for tonight. So please, Rev, can I pose a question to you?
Me.
Before I part. Yes, sir. I remember distinctively you mentioning people was asking you to give a book list. So you said, well, I'm going to give you a book list since y'all been asking for a book list. And you gave an awesome book list. And I just wanted to say I had The Devil's Pulpit that you said to get, right? And you also said to get Francis Crick's book on The Astonishing Hypothesis, and the book based off of, on perception and its relation to DNA. Now, based off of you saying those books and me going to get them, and I read the book, the Francis Crick book, from cover to cover 2 times, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that what you were saying in nanogenetics was 25 years beyond the people who were present. You heard? Because Francis Crick was having the exact same dialogue. So I'm asking you, and people who want to be here in a post, quote-unquote, apocalyptic world, what is the course of study for men to control the circumstances surrounding their life? What are, from the basics to the very advanced, what is the course of study that men should obtain when they want to control the circumstances surrounding their life? And with that, I just want to hear the answer, and I'm chilling.
That's a good question, very good question. Those books, the first and foremost, from man to ignite passion. That's what we're missing. We're dealing from, right now, we're not dealing from a true passion. What you have and what you're hearing, brothers and sisters, is based on passion. And I'm not talking about sexual passion. I'm talking about rerouting the Kundalini to a higher purpose than just sex. Kundalini can rise from just contemplating on some higher thought. You can always work Kundalini and bring yourself into higher states of ecstasy just on what it is that you're reading and what the words are doing to you as you're reading them. The first thing a person must do is to begin to withdraw. You cannot participate in those 2 worlds at the same time because we have concentrated most of our energies into that world. We have not yet begun to investigate the world necessary for us to cultivate, and that is the world that ignites our passion, and that comes from us beginning to study ourselves. We don't have, what you mentioned was based upon years of building a support mechanism where those who preceded us selflessly placed things there in the equation for us to have as a support mechanism. Being that we were captives over the last 400 or 500 years, we could not set the foundation for our children to have that stepping stone to be able to do what you're talking about right now. But we are slowly turning that around. We can only have philosophical conversations because we were not allowed or were not given the opportunity to build the material and the networking necessary to start building these edifices that would then become the foundations for our next culture. You got the mafia running all things having to do with stone. You got the Irish running this thing. You got the Chinese running another. Each one of them have set the foundation based on blood. They went and took it. We don't. Remember when I told you that why we are not ready to come together to do what we need to do is because black men ain't ready to die.
Indeed.
Back in the days, yes.
I don't want to cut your wisdom, but we are now at the 11:11 mark of which we go into our meditation. So we're going to take our meditative break real quick, and the family will be back very shortly. I don't want anyone to go anywhere. Just also join into this particular meditation of which we are going to be projecting these truths into the multiverse. Okay? Peace, yes. Pardon me, family, for the short meditation. We got to get back to the program. I feel like, we've somewhat been in this elevated meditative mode throughout the entire conversation, you know what I'm saying, because we've definitely raised the ethers, you know, with the content that's being shared tonight. But I do want you to continue where you left off, because it's a very important point that you made. And it also ties directly into the meditation, you know what I'm saying, because the whole point of getting into that particular state is man needs to know that there always is a time to die. And he has to be very firm with that reality. And I think that because of religion, death and the fear attached with it is so entrenched in our society that men are scared. They're scared of death. They're scared of dying. You know what I'm saying? And they haven't assigned that particular principle to themselves to say, okay, you know, I actually have something worth giving up my last breath for. And that's a problem.
Scared of dying, scared of trying. And what you're dealing with, essentially, are the incentive to put all in all into something for it to happen, to risk everything knowing that you have a goal in mind and that the attainment of the goal and the journey that gets there, whatever it is, whatever obstacles, you're ready to definitely step over them. Right now, the society has become so sophisticated that because of our participation in it, we believe that there's no way out of it. And what has happened is that the society has convinced us through the conjecturing that we need to be part of it. And, of course, we've become so accustomed to the creature comfort that comes with it that we're afraid to let it go. We're afraid to starve. We're afraid our children will starve. Well, 3/4 of the world right now, especially in our countries where African peoples are starving. They're going through their own wars. They've turned our children into these child soldiers that are fighting each other, killing off each other for this European because they don't have any directions towards themselves. We over here in the West are essentially the intellectual part of the entire African body consciousness. Trust me. We're the ones that have or are actually willing to participate in resurrecting the ancient kingdom's wisdom. Peoples in Africa ain't ready to deal with so-called Egypt or Kemet because essentially Kemet to them or Egypt to them is Arab control. It's all about Islam. It ain't about actual Kemet. It ain't about the Zep Tepi. It's none about that. So over here we are starting an intellectual revolution. We are changing minds. All around the world, even though we can't implement what the 60s did, the 60s essentially have implemented an entire movement around the planet at this point. Everything that Brother Seal and everyone from the Panthers, everything that they did now has become the foundation to a gigantic movement of souls and bodies of purpose, and they are rebuilding themselves. Now, how those who are in charge would intercept that momentum is what we have to become conscious of and begin to educate ourselves, because now that we have information that they know we're going to get or they are not going to want us to capitalize on, how do we recognize the stopgaps and all of the interferences, the blocking, all of that? How do we recognize when they come at us with the countermeasures to make sure that what it is that's rising up here is not going to come about? We don't have the resources collectively to do what we need to do because we need huge amounts, and they're showing us we need huge amounts of monies in order to do what we need to do. But everybody who has money to put to the pot, either they are frivolous in their minds, like the young people who want them sneakers and all the bullshit that they've been telling us we need to buy in order to fit in, or the people who are responsible and have children and are trying to schlep along, dealing with a job, trying to do this, they're trying to just keep food on the table for their families. So we're being kept in an economic position where we cannot effectively and psychologically sacrifice. We don't want to. But remember what I said, if we really want to see a change happen, we have to completely disengage ourselves from the matter-of-fact reality we've become accustomed to. If we're ready to suffer, if we're ready to live in the streets en masse, If black people say no more, we're not going to be participating. They showed you in Egypt when they did the same thing on Mubarak. Nobody went to work.